Hi, I'm Arun Singh. I come to you from Waves 2025, a place where interesting conversations are brewing when it comes to media and entertainment. And ahead of the panel, I have amazing panelists who, of course, have prolific credentials here. We'll start with you, Kabir sir. With short-form content and with also very, the kind of screen time we have and the kind of attention span the audience has now, you think cinema or the storytelling is adapting, or you think it's resisting?
No, I think what happens is it's not just the formats that are changing, right? There's a whole generation of filmmakers who bring their own style, their own formats. So of course there's going to be, an evolution of storytelling. But having said that, cinema is cinema. I don't think cinema is decided by the number of minutes. It's storytelling. And yes, there will be an evolution of the format of storytelling, but essentially at the heart of it, we are storytellers. We'll keep telling stories, whatever the format may be.
But what about this hot term these days, AI? How is that influencing the storytelling and cinema that we have here?
I think AI is a great tool, but it cannot become your go-to to say, okay, give me a nice story and a nice story will pop out. A lot of people are trying that. That's not going to happen. But I think what AI is going to do is, if you know how to use it well, it's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of effort because a lot of it is already there. You just need to know how to prompt it and get the information and help you in your work.
What has been your funniest request to AI or these, all these apps where you give prompts?
My funniest, my most serious request to AI has been, please make a camera where you can say, this is the actor's face, never lose focus.
Lovely. That's a good use case of AI. Now, we're also talking about taking Indian cinema or Indian stories to a global level and the kind of collaboration that we're expecting here at Waves 2025. Yeah. How do you see the kind of Indian stories out there, and how do you think the collaboration can be eased out?
Well, I've been shooting 3 movies in India already, like The Myth with Jackie Chan, Kung Fu Yoga, and also Vanguard. Because I find out Indian have a lot of story, and also in the historical background. Yes. There's a lot of things, like with China, just like his name is Damo. What's his name in? Bodhidharma. Yeah, he came to China, and he introduced the martial arts and the qigong and the meditation. And this kind of story that I want to bring it out as well,
Right. Other than stories, what do you think, when it comes to production, sets, or locations India has to offer?
I think the most important thing is we have to forget about India, China, Western, East, Oriental, or whatever. I think we really have to think of ourselves as global citizen. And the world used to be dominated by Hollywood, and that is the only standard of global entertainment. And I think that is no longer the case.
Not anymore,
Not anymore. And I think it's about time that India can tell India's story, Chinese can tell Chinese stories. To find crossover projects that actually have both aspects is not easy. Right. And I think that is a restriction for directors. And I think the directors should tell their best stories. Yeah. Some of the stories are local, and it's fine to make them for India only. Or for China only, because we have, between the two countries, we have the biggest population. Sure. So only our population could sustain our own film. Yeah. But however, for us to aspire, like Kabir and I and other filmmakers, and Amir, who aspires to tell some stories that are more international, and when we do that, we could come together as a collective, as a bargaining power, because ultimately what the studio or Hollywood needs is content and product. I mean, pardon my word, content. It's not discriminatory, but content is really what we make. Sure. And if we want to speak to the world audience with a collective, we have more bargaining power. And the studio, what we really need them for is their distribution. Yeah. Because they have a very strong distribution pipeline internationally. So, if we come together somehow, not on every single project, but only on the project that we feel could go international.
Yeah, and since you mentioned Amir, what he did with Dangal and the kind of response it got in international markets, especially, Southeast Asian countries, has been phenomenal.
Exactly. This is an overused word now. Global, local is global. Because we're all human beings. In essence, we're all the same. Yeah. We face the same human condition at different times of our country's development, probably. But if we tell those stories with our hearts and soul, it will resonate with the world audience.
Right. No, I mean, taking cue from what he said, we have amazing stories here, especially when it comes to documentaries. We've always been successful in portraying our very local stories. But how do you ensure, as a filmmaker, as a creator, that it has a global appeal as well? I mean, while he said that it's very important to be authentic, but I think to cater to, let's say, global. Do you have that in mind ever as a creator?
So I think one of the key things which Kabir and Peter mentioned, I think one of the important focuses is that being authentic to the story you want to tell. It doesn't matter which country it comes from, whether it's an Indian story or a Chinese story, but you tell it with a milieu which can travel. You don't have to make it, I want to cater to a Chinese market, I'm catering to an American market, so try and add elements to it. Yeah. It doesn't work. Like when we worked on Dangal and Secret Superstar, it's not a Chinese film, it's an Indian film. But when it traveled to China, or including Kabir's film, Bajrangi Bhaijaan, which has nothing to do with China, it traveled in China primarily because it was good film. It was entertaining. It connected with the emotional core of an audience. And China is very similar to India when it comes to family values, the core, the philosophy of the life, the way they think about parenthood, the way they think about aspirations about young people. It's very similar. So the stories which we make here can easily travel to China and vice versa eventually. I think right now Chinese films are not that popular in India, but we hope that, my recommendation to filmmakers would be tell what we are good at. Let's not try to cater it to any market. Just make good films. It works.
Since you mentioned Bajrangi Bhaijaan, when are we getting the second part of it, sir?
Yeah, we're thinking about it.
Really? That's my reaction as well, Acha. Please tell us it's with Salman Khan.
It's really a tough sequel to make, but yeah, we do keep, whenever I meet Salman, we sit and chat about it, but there's nothing concrete as yet about it.
Right, last question. Of course, our films are winning accolades on international level, but when it comes to the mainstream, massy cinema, a lot of the audiences, are complaining that the quality is kind of degrading. The kind of performances we are seeing, they're not very happy with, especially when it comes from star kids or people who've had years of training. And I had recently interviewed Nawazuddin Siddiqui, and he said, in the last 12 years, I haven't been impressed by any other actor except Manoj Bajpayee, which was the last actor he was impressed by. What do you think? What's happening? 2025, we have all the resources, we have internet, AI, but still the mainstream movies lack the performances that we used to love in films like Bajrangi Bhaijaan.
True, it has been a trend. I don't know, and I can't really analyze it and say whether I can give you a specific reason for it. But yes, it has been that, I wouldn't say 12 years, but I would say post-COVID, you're right. The kind of films that are coming are not at par with what we used to see pre-COVID in terms of just, performances. And I'm sorry to be asking this question of you, but what do you think is driving that? Everything is being driven by the audiences. So we need to figure out why the audience is behaving in a certain way. And that's going to take some time for us to decipher. But of course, what's also happening is that we forget that because of the change in the pattern of viewing, post-COVID, a lot of good cinema is not getting its due at the box office, but it's getting its due on the streaming platforms. Yeah. But the way our industry and the trade part of our industry is geared up, they don't see that or they don't judge success from that parameter. We are still judging success only from the parameter of tickets sold at the box office. Yeah. We have to start looking at the kind of attention some films that are not working at the box office are later getting on the streaming platforms. Okay. And that's something we all need to take note of.
Okay, we'll close this chat with one very fun take from you guys. You have to give me one stereotype about the industry that you hear the most often. And of course, it's a stereotype and it's not true. What is the wildest, weirdest thing that you hear about the industry, about you, about the work you do, but it's not true?
Bollywood movies are all about song and dance. That's not true.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, action movies and just about fighting and excitement, but I think it's not true.
Action movies have a lot of science in it as well.
I think the fact that the film industry is all about glamour, not true at all. It's a lot of hard work.
100%. What about you?
I'm going to give a cultural norm that every person in India knows yoga and every person in China knows Kung Fu. That's not true at all.
That's a good one. But thank you very much for this insightful conversation. We had a really good time. This is Arun Singh signing off for NDTV with camera person Mahesh.